can play a Reinhardt. I can play anything, man.
Oh god, okay. I hate your teammates already. Hi, it's me. Okay, so this is my 5th time doing the VOD review because I've hated the other 4 times. So I'm going to try and make this shorter than the other time because the last time was 20 minutes. That's just too long. So generally, let's talk about your character decisions here and what went wrong, what went right, etc., etc. So this is Lijiang Tower Garden, aka the Fair booping map. You actually deal with the Fair excellently as Mei here. So I think the Mei was a good decision since you're able to deal with her. If you weren't able to deal with her, I would say don't do the Mei. But you are able to deal with her very well, and you snipe the fuck out of her on multiple occasions, and I appreciate that. Let's see. The biggest thing we need to talk about with your Mei, and something else I need to discuss, is that this entire game is not your fault. Like, this entire game is not, like, you did everything really well this game. There were just like some small, oh god, hello accent. There were just like some small optimizations you could have done to change the game around. And again, it's not your fault, even if you didn't do those things, because in the moment, all of the decisions you made were pretty damn good. So, let's see. I'm trying to find a moment that I wanted to talk about. You keep sniping the fuck out of this Pharah, by the way, and I just love that. Let's see. Okay, so here's a moment with your walls. And I think, so, okay, so you saw the Hammond, and your immediate thought was to wall off the Hammond. Which is a good thought. I love that thought. It's the best thought. Who is that? Wait, sorry, I'm trying to see who that ally who already is on point is. Is that your Moira? That's your Moira. Okay, so your Moira is standing on top of their Reinhardt's head, as she should. But you go to wall off this Mei, or you go to wall off this Hammond, which is smart. The only thing I would say here is that you could have really optimized on is, instead of walling him off right there, you could either have walled him off a little bit to the right here, or you could have walled him off where the enemy Reinhardt's standing. And the reason for that is, with this Hammond, you want to make sure he's stuck in there with you. And I think you try to do that, but he knocks you out of the way because of how the wall's positioned. And so I think going for a horizontal wall slightly farther away from you where you know he's going to be, so you could wall him off right there, would have been a little bit better. And then you can just chain freeze him, and then your team gets a free kill. Because I think your fire was right there.
Pick the Ryan, pick the Ryan. We're on point.
Healers and healing.
Yeah. And your Junkrat was also right there.
Healing, healing.
Yeah, so if you had walled him off right around where the Reinhardt was standing earlier, you probably would have killed him. Again, this is not your fault at all. This team fight, any of the team fights in this match are not your fault for losing them. But it's just a small thing that could have tipped it in your favor. Here you are trying to chain freeze him a lot. He's got full momentum. That's not going to work until you have your wall up. You could be really big brain IQ and actually use your cryo freeze to wall him off. You'd have to be really exact and precise to do that, but like you could do it, and that would stop his momentum if I remember correctly. That's how the interaction would go. And then you'd also get some of your health back. Like that would be good too. You're about to have another wall up, and I think you try to wall him off again here. You do, but then the Pharah happens. So this whole game, your teammates are complaining about the Pharah doing a bunch of work. The only reason why the Pharah was doing a bunch of work is because the one person who tried to switch to deal with her like via hit scan was actually just flanking the whole time. So, and you were also dealing with the Pharah often, putting pressure on her too. So like, I think that there's some gold reasoning happening from your teammates. Let's see here. There's another moment I wanted to talk about with walls. Here you go. You flank with your Moira, which I love that. That's lovely. Where's the wall? Okay, so you walled off the Pharah. Your Pharah was shooting at you guys coming back from the enemy spawn. All she does is, I think she just like flies right over the wall and she keeps spamming you from behind. So there's like 2 goals with your wall that you should be going for, which is walling the enemy team into your team so that they're like completely fucked, or walling the enemy team off point so that they can't get in. And the second one happens a lot more on control points. And this is one of those situations where instead of walling the fair off like that, you could have actually just like walled that entire hallway off, this entire doorway rather off, and then the fair would have had to go around to one of the windows, or just sit there like trying to break the wall. Again, just a small thing. You do waste her time a little bit, but she still gets to free fire on you from behind, and that's pretty bad. You do, however, immediately go in and see this Hammond, and you're like, I'm going to chain freeze the fuck out of this hamster. And that's correct. The fair gets away with a lot here. There's a moment here where you pre-fire, you fired a really good shot on that Mei, by the way. That was excellent aim. You should have cryo freezed a little bit earlier here, because, and only because, you could afford to be greedy with it because you're almost to your ult. And you have 96 health left. They have a Pharah. Like, you just kind of have to be greedier a little bit faster. I do believe you tried to cryo freeze. When she kills you, it sounds like it went off. And then what would have happened is you could have killed the enemy Mei here because you just saw her use her cryo freeze. So if you had cryo freeze and then she cryo freezed, you got a free kill on her with your blizzard. Their Lucio does come back in a second, and he beats your Winston. Kills himself on point. You have a really excellent wall here that I do want to point out, though. So you, oh my god, hello, video. Videos being done. So you walled them off right here, which was excellent because you have a Junkrat coming back to point. And that kills this Mei, and this wall was actually huge. What I would have done that was a little bit, would have been a bit optimized, and you would have probably won that team fight. Which again, that is not your fault, just something you could have done to turn the game around. When you walled them off before you cryo freezed, you could have actually, so you wall and then you immediately throw your cryo freeze out. Cause you, god damn, cause you know cause you saw the enemy diva didn't have her defense matrix on you, or I think there was a diva. Someone over there was trying to eat you. And you could have cryo frozen after doing that, after throwing your ultimate in. You probably would have killed a bunch of the enemy team. And then your Winston would have jumped on them. You had Junkrat there, like that would have been big. Again, not your fault, just like something you could have optimized right there. You do get your freeze off though, and you kill the enemy Mercy, which is huge. Fair kills you. Again, that fight was not your fault, but there's just a little optimization you could have done there, and you probably would have won the fight. Also remember that your freeze goes through enemies, so you could have like been able to freeze all of those enemies, like right there. Let's see. There's one other note I wanted to make about cryo freeze. What was it? So you can use your cryo freeze to dodge one shot really quickly and then get right back on the enemy. It's what most Meis do at higher ranks. I think you can afford not to always do that. You could be a little bit more greedy and they cryo freeze for a longer time, just like kind of assess the situation, because you're not going to be punished as harshly for it a lot of the time. Just something to keep in mind. If you think you're about to get hit by a sniper shot, you can freeze real quick until they shoot, unfreeze, then get out. You can, just briefly dodge like a diva bomb and then get out immediately and get back to work. Bunch of little things you can do. You switched to Symmetra, and I love that. Biggest issue I saw with the Symmetra is you need to get to point immediately. On this point specifically, like this is the most important point, to get to point first on Symmetra. And so I would have asked a teammate to go Lucio and just speed us right onto point so you can get set up with your turrets. I know you're trying to deal with the Pharaoh with your turrets in this window, and I love that. Those are really, I love that. That was really good. But you need to get to point regardless. Because you're playing Mei and Symmetra, it's not really your job to deal with the Pharaoh. More so what your end goal is going to be dealing with the enemy team in a manner that will eventually let you deal with the Pharaoh. So your main focus is destabilizing the enemy team underneath the Pharah so you can get to the Pharah. So right here, I'm trying to find the spot. So you can see this little gray air duct thing. You can actually teleport to the window that's right above point from that little gray air duct. I'm trying to find, there's a spot where you can see it. It's right next to your gun. So stand right next to that thing. You can actually put your teleporter up into that window. It's a little tricky, but you can do it from both sides of Lijiang, depending on where you start at. And you can get to these windows and just get to point instantaneously. Let's see. You have good tracking here. This whole Symmetra part is actually pretty okay. Just you need to focus on applying point pressure a lot more with her getting to point first in a team fight. It usually wins you the game. Or at least it wins you that that team fight, my bad, not the game. And it's just really hard to retake from a Symmetra. You track well. Only thing is, you need to be a lot more spammy with your orbs as Symmetra. You do a lot of, there are times when you do spam really well as Symmetra. But in between team fights, you should always just be labbing orbs. Don't worry about giving them ult charge on the enemy team. Don't worry about that right now. Okay, just make sure you're always spamming in to the enemy team as Symmetra if you're not charging your beam up. This is a moment where your team's all together, most of the enemy team's on point. What you could do here is you could just wall your team into point. You could cut the point in half and then go directly to point. One of my favorite things to do is to wall the point in half. Put down 2 turrets on the ground and then teleport myself and those turrets into the center of point and then just like annihilate the enemy backline. So that's something you could have done. There's so many situations here where you could have walled your team into the point and probably secured the fight without them having to use any of their ultimates. Let's see. Let's watch this for a moment. You kill this Tracer. This is excellent. This is an excellent kill on their Tracer. Their Hammond ults. He does the wrong order of the ultimate. You're supposed to ult first as Hammond and then slam. He doesn't do that. You could have walled here. That would have killed half of his proximity mines. And then you get your team in. I think your Ana dies because of those proximity mines. You might have saved her from the Lucio that kills her after getting hit by the proximity mines. There's just a lot of moments here where you were just kind of hesitating with your wall. I think you were looking for your wall based on like how you were positioning and how you were looking at the point, but you just weren't sure what to do with it. Is the impression I got from it. They commit a lot of ults here, and that's good for you guys for the next fight. Your Ana dies. Again, walling here would have made Diva's Bomb a mute point. And then, okay, then you do, I think this is maybe the biggest offender of what you did this match, which is not a big problem, because your team over ults anyway. Your whole team over ults. Is you walled off the Pharah's ultimate when she was the only one left. And the enemy team, you had a Diva there, you had a Reinhardt there. There was not a lot of reasons for your team to die there, because it was just one Pharah, and your Diva had defense matrix up. You didn't really need to wall here. So you're just like kind of hesitating a little bit, and that's fine. I mean, it happens, but just keep that in mind for next time. If you got most of your team there, there's like a pretty low chance that the Pharah is going to get a kill. And if she does get 1 kill, 2 kills, something with it, but as long as she dies and you guys have the point, like it's not that big of a deal. You do put 2 turrets out here, outside of the point. So I love this turret for the Pharah. You put it up in this corner. I would, however, suggest putting it into the center board here as opposed to up here, because that way you get coverage on the Pharah coming in through these windows. You get coverage down here as well. So I would have put maybe like 1 turret here, 1 turret over on the other side, or like maybe 1 turret in the center, 1 turret over on this side. If you had noticed, maybe the Pharah is favoring one window or the other, you know, just kind of like spreading them out so that it covers as much area in people as possible. You do put turrets out here on the balcony though. I like having 1 out here. I would maybe suggest putting it in a spot that is like maybe on this board instead of up here. I know it's specifically for the Pharah, but in order for the Pharah to be effective out here, she has to come down here anyway. And then this would have also covered, you know, someone comes up on the side and they're not Pharah, you could have known that someone's there as well. But I like the idea of having turrets that are specifically for the Pharah. But committing 2 turrets here is kind of a problem because you don't know if they're going to come from the side and you don't know if the Pharah is going to come from the side. So you kind of have to be careful with that. You know, turret placement really is all about optimizing and making sure you're going to cover as much options as possible. Generally, there are times when I specifically want to cover one spot, but that's not important right now. Yeah, let's see. So I think that was kind of most of my problems. Most of the advice I could give was mostly just watch your Mei walls, optimize those. You can optimize your actions here just a little bit more, but overall, I mean, like, you played really well. It was just the little things. With Symmetra, you just got to be on point more. Got to make sure you're playing that point pressure, getting to point first. Even though Symmetra and Lucio hate each other in canon, they actually work really well together now with the Symmetra changes, especially on Koth. It's, I would argue, maybe the best combo for Koth with Symmetra is a Lucio. But yeah, overall, you played really well. Just focus on your ability optimization. Your tracking's pretty good. Your aim was good with Mei. Like, yeah, that's it. Just some ability optimization.